Mental Health Monday
on Radio City Talk
with Mick Coyle.
Tackling the Stigma.
Radio City Talk.
Yeah, Mental Health Extra for a Tuesday, following on from Mental Health Monday. We are going to be joined by Jake Mills in just a few moments' time. First and foremost, though, just a quick update to the Where's Your Head At campaign. I told you about this a few weeks ago, and there's a petition ongoing ensuring employers and asking employers to look after the well-being of their workforce with a mental health first aider on tap, on their trained colleagues on site, so that people can be pointed in the right direction if they go into work and feel they might need help. Where's Your Head At campaign? The petition is up and running. Let me just refresh as we speak now to get the up-to-date figure. More than 64,000 people have signed that petition so far. Oh, and the numbers are going up all the time. 64,379 people have signed it. 3 people have signed it. Well, in fact, 2 people more have signed it. A lot of people are signing this petition. It's on where'syourheadat.org. There's a link there, and it's all about making sure that workplaces are the best place for you to be if you maybe have mental health concerns about yourself or a colleague and you want to get some information. We're working across the entire Bauer Media Group on this one to make it happen. Let's change the law to protect our mental health. Where'syourheadat.org. Loads of people are supporting us on this one as well. Famous and not so famous. Tom from McFly, Tom Fletcher, very prominent voice when it comes to mental health. He says it's just as important to take care of our minds as our bodies, and he suffered publicly with depression and says the first step to recovery is admitting the problem to yourself.
Admitting that you're struggling with anything is the hardest bit. If you're overwhelmed, if you're stressed or feeling depressed, the first most challenging bit is recognising that yourself. The moment you do that, even just knowing yourself that is how you're feeling, that's the first most significant step.
Now, Tom's wife and partner is an author and a prominent figure in her own right, Giovanna Fletcher. She's been talking about how we can better look after our own mental health, saying it's important to remember what we see online and in the digital world isn't always real.
Very easy to look at other people, especially on Instagram, where it can look all glossy and everyone's getting it right, and think, oh my God, why am I not like that? Why do I feel like I'm failing and getting it wrong? Actually, most people feel like that.
There's a brilliant website. You can find out all the information for yourself about workplaces and colleges getting these mental health first aiders. Where'syourheadat.org. So it's moving on apace, actually. 64,000 people plus have signed that register and that petition so far. More people will do it if you want to be part of it. Where'syourheadat.org. I'm very pleased to say joining us in the studio now, we've got Jake Mills. Jake, it's great to see you.
And you, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the follow-up.
Yeah, I've just done that thing that people do. How are you? Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Deep down, I'm going, no, I'm not fine. It's really quite difficult. So for people who don't know, I've been on paternity leave for a couple of weeks. Got a new little boy in our house, little Noah. He's an absolute wonder. He's a superstar. I mean, he doesn't do anything. He just lies.
That's why, yeah.
I think it's probably fair to say becoming a parent is the biggest test sometimes you'll face from a mental health point of view.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, it might be the first time you realise that actually it's not just about your physical health. It's how you perceive the world, because the challenges that you often face as a parent are linked to the physicalities of not sleeping and so on and so forth. But there is this huge thing that kind of sweeps over you that makes you entirely think differently about the world. That when your worldview changes, there's not many times in your life that actually happens. Becoming a parent is one of those, isn't it? Where you suddenly go, In the same way, if you rent a house, then you buy a house, you suddenly feel different about the house. It's the same way that you suddenly feel like you've got some sort of like, not a vested interest in the planet and the future, but you've actually got something for which you are absolutely responsible. And I mean absolutely, because if you don't do something within a few hours, things can start to go wrong pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think kind of what can happen from time to time as well is that the world can seem really scary and really dangerous. And that's kind of something that you're taking on. Although your world can seem amazing because of the baby that's coming in, then you'll have times when it's like, oh, what's going on? What if this happens? What if this happens? When they've got to face this, it's really tough. It's and all the other things do play a big factor in that as well. And sleep is something that we've spoke about loads of times, but sleep for me is a huge factor of where I am mentally, whether I'm having good or bad sleep, and obviously that changes when you have a baby.
And actually, day 1, day 2 in this time around, I actually thought, OMG, I'm back here again.
Yeah.
And actually, that lack of sleep, the smell of nappy bags, the sort of things that you've forgotten about because you'd moved on from that. It brings you right back to it, and actually it sort of regrounds you in that ground zero of having a child. And actually I found that the most challenging thing, this idea of all the things which I thought, thank goodness we don't have to do that anymore, the sterilising, the nappy changes all the time, all those things which you grow out of, you move on from, you get used to then go straight back into it, back in at the deep end, is one of them when you think, oh, this is everything that I've been moving away from the last 3 years, and now I'm back here again. You can't race through the second time. You've got to do exactly the same thing. You've got to do the sterilising because you're protecting then a brand new thing, and you're doing it for a whole new time over.
Plus, this new baby, it's the first time they've done it, so every baby's different as well. So what you might have a better experience now than you did the first time, but at the same time you might have a harder, more difficult time as well. Hope not.
No, absolutely. And I think this time, as much as anything, I feel like I'm a little bit more just generally relaxed.
Not bothered, are you?
Yeah, well, I'm quite. Well, we met up on Friday. Did I seem fraught? Apart
no,
from
you're having pizza and beer.
Yeah, I had to piggyback my daughter across the whole of town on the hottest day of the year. Apart from that, it was absolutely fine. Jake, it's great to see you on the programme. Thanks for coming in. You're not going home yet.
No. I think you've. What I was going to say is that you've come back and you've come back with a bang, have you?
Well, Jack Hunter-Spivey's story from Mental Health Monday yesterday, people can check it out via the podcast and also the video, just completely blew me away. Completely blew me away in terms of the way that he spoke so honestly about himself and about the fact that I think people would presume that if there is somebody who's a Paralympian, as Jack is, who's in a wheelchair, who's lived with cerebral palsy his entire life, that would be a presumption, he's been dealt a bad hand, no wonder his mental health is through. But actually, he was quite happy to say the wheelchair has nothing to do with it. If someone gave me a pill now to take me out of the wheelchair, I probably wouldn't take it because this is who I am and this is what my life is. But those mental health issues have been dealt with from a completely different point of view, based around other factors, and just goes to try. It affects many different people in many different ways and for many different reasons as well. And the honesty that he showed was something else.
Yeah, I'd recommend to anybody to listen to it, but also to watch it because it's on YouTube, isn't it? Sure. The whole video, because I think that kind of helps to tell the story as well, because you can see in Jack's face kind of how honest he's being. That point that you've just made there, and that's something that he said. The being in a wheelchair is all he's ever known. So it's looking at it from that outsider's point of view and thinking, as you've just said, well, that'll be a factor. And he's like, no, because I don't notice that. And I think that was a really kind of interesting kind of insight, because it is, again, those assumptions, those kind of trying to second guess what somebody's feeling and thinking, and not just from a successful sportsman point of view, but from that kind of that disability or ability point of view. And it was really good. It was really, really interesting to hear how, it's kind of, his mum had struggled with bipolar, did he say, and how she thought she'd passed that on to him and stuff. I mean, it was such a really kind of, it had so many layers, his story, and that interview itself had so many layers that I think there was probably something in there for everyone, really.
I thought that, yeah, very much so, because we focus a lot, don't we, I think, as a nation on sports performance. Oh, what was he playing like that for? Oh, he didn't show up in that game, and all that kind of thing as well. For him to talk so honestly about the Paralympics and how important the Paralympics were to him, but then to talk about the fact that he had a suicide attempt or was in a suicidal moment 2 weeks before the Rio Games, that gives you a sense of the complexity of the issue there, that actually he was quite open to saying that actually it was all about the Paralympics. It was all about Team GB, and the moment was there. The moment was 2 weeks out, and yet the depression was such that actually his mind was taking him in a different direction, to the point where it was the intervention of a flatmate that was able to sort of get him out of the situation he found himself in.
It is, and do you know what? Like, and we've spoken. It's not just Jack as a sportsman who's spoken. There's been others as well, but it just makes you just think twice about. I go and watch Everton. I've got a season ticket at Everton, and you see these players who turn up and they get absolute abuse or the expectations, as you said, on Jack or in the World Cup that we're going to now, no one knows anything about where those people are mentally, where they are, how they're coping with all this. And the thing that kind of scared me a little bit about Jack's interview was I couldn't help but think, what if he didn't get to the Olympics? You know, the place he was at, what if he didn't get there? What if he lost that game and that amazing comeback that he had? What if he didn't do that? And for most people, for the majority of people who would be watching it, you go, it's a shame, isn't it? That could have been would have been absolutely devastating for Jack. And it's just being aware of that, you know, sportsmen, athletes, Paralympians are people as well. You know, they have a mind, they have the as fragile as you and I. And I think that's why it was so important, really, and that's why it's so powerful for me, was that you just see the success on TV or in the newspaper and you don't actually see the person behind that. He made a really interesting point as well. He said, people are happy to talk about my disabilities, the fact that I'm in a wheelchair, the fact that I was blind and deaf as a child, but people are really uncomfortable to talk about my mental health struggles. He's just like, what is this world we're living in? It's utterly bizarre. It really is.
The full interview you can check out as part of the Mental Health Monday podcast. You get a link to that via radiocitytalk.co.uk. But if you listen to podcasts already, just type in Mental Health Monday to your podcast provider and you can get all the information there. Jack is a Paralympian. I've got some quotes here from Ariana Grande, who is appearing in British Vogue this week. I think a lot of people have anxiety, especially right now. My anxiety has anxiety. I've always had anxiety. I've never really spoken about it because I thought everyone had it. But when I got home from tour, it was the most severe I think it's ever been. She obviously went on that tour, which obviously involved the Manchester Arena terror attack. Everybody thought I was crazy when I got home and wanted to hit the ground running. She goes on to talk about various other factors which have been going on in her life as a result of that situation. She doesn't think she'll ever be able to talk about the arena attack, which killed 22 people, without crying. She's been coping with post-traumatic stress disorder, and she's also been keeping in regular contact as well with some of the victims, people who were caught up in that as well, who were injured when the blast went off too. That was one of the things about Ariana Grande, who of course was not specifically the target, but her concert was the target of the arena terror attack, and herself is just really a young kid starting out with a pop star, singing and dancing on stage, living the life and finding herself at the centre of something so horrific.
Yeah, of course she's struggling with PTSD. Of course she is. But again, it's this idea, and what she said in her quote, it was this idea of, look at her, she's flew home. She's going out and the paparazzi are getting pictures of her, and it's like, well, she doesn't look too bothered, does she? Like, it's this idea again that we're all people, and there's somebody behind those pictures, there's somebody behind those stories, and you have absolutely no idea what somebody's going through. And yeah, I'm glad that she said that, but she shouldn't have to, you know. She shouldn't have to do a story publicly about what she's kind of going through, but it's powerful and important that she has, because that will help a lot of people, particularly young girls, and especially people who were at that concert as well, and maybe, you know, they might not have been injured, but it doesn't mean that they weren't affected by it. So it's good that she's done that, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people kind of, you know, took something from that.
Can I throw something at you? It was an idea that I thought, just in regard to, you know, situations like this, that sometimes people go, oh, Ariana Grande, PTSD. There's almost like, I don't want to call it mental health porn, but there's this idea that there's an exploitation. It's like, oh, mental health. And, you know, people might say the same about Jack. I don't think they will. They go, oh, what about it? Almost as if it is a piece of gossip, or did you hear that about somebody? And I wonder about how we make sure that when we do this and we hear, the Ariana Grande saying that, you know, my anxiety has anxiety, and we hear Jack's story as well, that actually we can go beyond that then. We don't just go, oh, and that's almost like a bit of gossip about that person. How do we make sure that it sticks?
I think it's probably normalising it. You know, I'm always hesitant to say that people should speak publicly about it, because I don't actually think that anybody should tell anybody to speak publicly about it. It's a private thing, and nobody should feel obliged to speak publicly. However, if people are willing to speak publicly, and it's more about us rather than them, and it's about I've gone through this, and that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely normal. The more voices, the more faces, the more normalising of mental health or mental health difficulties or struggles or illness, the less it's going to become gossip, because actually it won't have anything to it, because it'll just be like, oh yeah, loads of people are saying this now. So that stigma is kind of what is allowing it to be gossip. And again, it's about education, and it's about normalising it and humanising it.
Chasing the Stigma, I know you got a busy day with a 1 minute brief today.
Yeah, exciting. Caught me by surprise, actually. I was in playgroup and with my son. So 1 minute briefs on Twitter are doing a 1 minute brief for Chasing the Stigma and the Hub of Hope today. So basically what that is, they've got a following of about 17,000 people who are usually like creatives, designer type of people, and they've just put it out there to say, right, here's your brief for today, come up with a poster for the Hub of Hope and Chasing the Stigma. And some of the designs that are coming out are absolutely fantastic. But what's really important is that it's not just people coming up with a design to say this could be a poster for you. It's the conversations that are happening as a result of that amongst the kind of the community themselves. So one designer's putting out a design for the Hub of Hope poster, and then somebody else is messaging them saying that's really good, this is something close to my heart, and then they're having a conversation, and it's happening constantly. It's amazing to watch, it really is. So it's a great opportunity for us to get our message out there and to get some ideas. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about that.
Excellent. Where can people find out more information about that?
If you go on Twitter at 1 minute briefs, it's a hashtag 1 minute briefs, and that Chasing the Stigma's Twitter account, which is Chasing Stigma. We're retweeting as many as we possibly can.
Brilliant stuff as well. What else is going on in the big bad world of Chasing the Stigma?
Yeah, we're just kind of pushing that message out there to get people to download the apps now on Android and iOS devices, to be using the Hub of Hope and pushing that message out that nobody ever should go through anything alone. I went to it's funny actually, I went to a networking event this morning, which isn't my bag at all, and there was a guy who he was kind of nervous. He's actually it was in the Wirral, and he came up to me at the end and he said, "Oh, sounds great what you're doing." He said, I've got bipolar, and my automatic reaction was, brilliant, because I thought, I made up that you've come over to me and I can understand. He said, I'm so anxious. And I was like, yes, because you're with me now. You're on my team. And he said, you know what? That's the best reaction that anyone's ever had when I've told them that. Because usually he's so scared about saying he's got bipolar or he's struggling or he has anxiety. Usually it's kind of scares people away. And it wasn't me trying to be anything. It was my automatic reaction was, someone who's on my side here. And I was glad that we had that conversation, because that's really what it should be like, It should be we were the normal ones. Anyone who's saying that they weren't struggling in any way, they're not the normal ones, we're the normal ones.
We've seen through the looking glass on Mental Health Monday and Mental Health Extra. Jake, thank you for your time. Links to Jake on our social media at Radio City Talk as well, and it's at 1 minute briefs.
Yes.
Is the social media if you want to check out those posters for Chasing the Stigma and the Hub of Hope. If you want to find mental health services close to where you live, download the app or type in your postcode to hubofhope.co.uk. You'll find a list of provisions close to where you live based on your postcode. Do check that out. Thank you to everybody who's been emailing the programme. I've been away for a couple of weeks. If you have emailed in the last couple of weeks in regards to the show, do us a favour, send it through again, just because I've had hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of emails about basically GDPR mainly, and I've tried to delete all of them, but if you sent one through, it might have got lost in the mix there. So do send it through again, and we'll do our best to give you a mention on the show. Maybe you could be appearing on a future edition of Mental Health Monday, or indeed Mental Health Extra. You're with Radio City Talk.
Mental Health Monday with Mick Coyle
On Radio City Talk.